All right, getting back to our breaking news, Attorney General Pam Bondi is set to testify before the House Judiciary Committee at any moment now. Lawmakers are expected to question her about the FBI raid at a Georgia election office, efforts to prosecute the president's perceived enemies, and the DOJ's handling of the Epstein files and more. Let's bring in Jay O'Brien on Capitol Hill. Justice reporter Luke Barr, an ABC News contributor, and former Congressman John Katko for more. So, Jay, let's start with you. Some lawmakers are criticizing the DOJ's handling of the Epstein files. They say the redacted names that should have been made public and left survivors' personal information unredacted. What's the latest on this back and forth, and how do you expect Bondi to respond to questions on those Epstein files today?
Yeah, that has been one of the biggest questions hanging over the Attorney General here. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle saying that they went in as of Monday, got access to what they were told would be unredacted versions of the more than 3 million pages of Epstein files that the Department of Justice put out. And a number of members, including the two architects of the law that compelled the release of the files, Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna, saying first they saw documents that were redacted despite the fact they were promised unredacted documents. And second, they saw things that when they were put out in the general public were redacted against the letter of the law that they wrote. The law only allows for victim information to be redacted and any information that would compromise an ongoing investigation not to be released. But what a number of members have said is that they saw redactions that fly in the face of that and go even further, redacting the names of men, for example, redacting various narratives written from depositions and other interviews and other statements that lawyers got. I asked the Attorney General about that as she entered into this hearing. A quick warning, it's going to be a little loud because I was shouting to get the Attorney General to hear our question. Here's a little bit of that. Why were certain Epstein files redacted and others were not?
Upset that some of these files have not been fully unredacted. What do you say to that?
But why was certain information redacted that's against the nature of the law? Why was certain information redacted that's against the nature of the law?
Survivors this morning, they're going to be in the hearing room.
So no answer there from the Attorney General, Perry, but she is expected to take questions any moment now, and we do expect, among a number of the issues that you brought up, her to have to answer questions on the Jeffrey Epstein saga, too.
So, Luke, we are learning some new information about the FBI raid in Fulton County, Georgia. What's in that affidavit that gave the FBI green light here?
Yeah, Perry, so we did learn some new details, basically what was the nexus of that investigation. And there, the DOJ's nexus, the FBI agent's nexus, is that basically they're looking to see if they, quote, failed to create a scanned image of each ballot, that some ballots were scanned multiple times, and that some ballot counts were inconsistent. Investigators are now probing to understand if any of those issues were the result of, quote, intentional action and potentially violated federal law. Now, this complaint comes from a referral from Kurt Olson, an attorney who fought to challenge the results of the 2020 election and was recently appointed by the Trump administration to serve as the Director of Election Security and Integrity Unit. He sent a referral, purported improprieties, to the Justice Department for investigation. It's important to note, Perry, that this document contained 8 witnesses, some of which don't have firsthand accounting of, what actually happened. It's basically just, hey, I heard this, we should check it out. So clearly it remains to be seen what actually happens going forward in this investigation.
And then, Luke, what question does this raise for the midterms and for lawmakers in this hearing we're about to watch?
Well, I think the lawmakers are certainly going to have a lot of questions about certainly what happens with, elections, right? Whether or not there's any federal maybe interference in the elections. Now, we did get a reaction from that affidavit to Senator Mark Warner, who basically has been questioning why Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has been at that raid. He basically said, quote, the newly unsealed affidavit shows the search originated from the frivolous claims of Kurt Olson, an attorney who traffics debunked falsehoods about the 2020 election. It also makes clear there was no foreign intelligence nexus, and he asks why Tulsi Gabbard was at that raid to begin with, Perry.
All right, John, over to you. Last night, a grand jury declined to bring charges against 6 Democratic lawmakers. President Trump accused of sedition for telling service members they could refuse illegal orders. What are you watching for on that story?
Well, it's just going to be more partisan bomb throwing on both sides. But, it is a legitimate concern. I mean, these individuals did say things, but it's within the right to say them. The question is going after them, the manner in which they did, opening a criminal investigation. It seems like the Department of Justice is now routinely being weaponized, and I think it started with the previous administration. I mean, the Department of Justice, I know, that I worked at for 20 years is not the Department of Justice we see now. They seem to routinely cross lines that you just don't cross. And it happened with Biden administration and its pursuit of the president, and now it's happening here. And it's really unfortunate to watch because I think people are losing faith in what exactly is our justice system and is it just? And so there's, going forward, I just hope that they get back to understanding. And, something you mentioned earlier, you talked about the redaction of documents. That was so poorly handled. I've had many cases where we had to redact documents. You do it in a very painstaking, careful manner. And this was anything but that. And then to release documents that were redacted and then turn around and then release them without being redacted, you wonder what's going on and what they're trying to hide. And that all undermines the faith of the Department of Justice. And that's something that every American should be concerned about.
And then, John, on this hearing today, Bondi has been combative in the past. What are you expecting to see?
Well, she's under attack, man, and she's rightfully so. The job of the panelists in Congress, our job is oversight. When I was there, you're expected to conduct a rigorous oversight. The problem now is that there's a lot less oversight, a lot less political grandstanding, where oftentimes they just make a statement and don't even ask a question. But I hope they ask piercing questions. That's their job, and her job is to answer those questions. And if you want to be in the fire, you got to be ready to be in the frying pan, and that's what part of your job is in Congress and appearing before Congress. So I hope they ask tough questions.
John Katko, Jay O'Brien, and Luke Barr, thank you guys for your time, and we will bring you Attorney General Pam Bondi's testimony live when those questions start.